And we pray that it's a great day for you. And hopefully you got some nice presents. Usually that's what's associated with Mother's Day. Sometimes it's flowers, sometimes just one flower. Other times it's other gifts. There was one lady who had 3 sons who her sons became very, very wealthy. She was still just middle. I was going to say middle age, but she was still one of those who didn't have much, but she had enough. Anyway, it came to Mother's Day, and they couldn't figure out what they were going to get her. So one of them decided that he was going to give her a brand new house, a big house, nice and big and beautiful, to show how much he loved and cared for her. So he bought her that big house. And the other son thought, I don't know what I'm going to get with my brother giving a big house like that. He said, I'm going to give her a Cadillac, a great big chauffeur-driven limousine for Mother's Day. So that's what he gave her. The other thought, he was the youngest, and he thought for a bit, and he says, I know that my mother loves the Bible, and she loves to read the Bible. And so he ran across a parrot that could quote Scripture, and quote it very well. So he decided that he was going to buy that parrot and give it to her for Mother's Day. It was hard because the man didn't want to sell it. But finally he convinced him. He bought the parrot and he sent it. Then came time a few weeks later when the mother sent out the thanks cards, the cards of appreciation, and she wrote to the son, son, I really appreciate the house, but it's so big I can't get it clean. It's so big that I only live in part of it. Thank you for the house, though. And then for the other son, she wrote and said, oh, thank you for that big limousine. She said, but this house needs so much work I can't hardly get out and ride in that thing. And when I do get out and get a chance to go somewhere in it, that chauffeur is so rude. But thank you for the limousine. And then she wrote back to the other one and she said, oh, son, thank you so much. You know, you've got my heart. You know exactly what makes me happy. Thank you so much for the chicken. Happy Mother's Day. Hope you don't get a chicken. And we also really want to say Happy Mother's Day to all those mother figures in our lives. For some, it's stepmothers and adopted mothers and foster mothers and grandmothers, and sometimes it's aunts and in our lives. That those are the real mother figures in our lives, because some people, sad to say, didn't have mothers that were real loving and caring because they were too wrapped up in themselves. Got themselves hooked up on drugs and things of this nature, and but there's those that indeed still have mother figures in their lives, and it's those women who've stepped in and who've helped people who are really down. We also want to thank them. We thank all of you ladies for all that you do. And mothers, I realize just a little bit about how hard it is to be a mother, especially in days like these and times like these when things are going on the way they were. So much is expected from you. It really is. And sometimes I guess it almost feels like you want to just throw the towel in. Thank you for not doing that. Thank you for not doing that. But I want to tell you this. It seems like this is not something new. Being a mother has always been a great responsibility and a great difficulty. Always. Always. People have high expectations about mothers, and I'm so glad that they have higher expectations for mothers than they do for fathers. Yeah, you have high expectations. They do. I want to read. If you think that the expectations people have on you is something, let's read Proverbs chapter 31 and verses 10 through 31. And this is a picture now of the ideal wife and mother. Understand that. This is an ideal wife and mother. I won't get very far into reading this until you'll realize that it's impossible for anyone to accomplish all of these things. Nevertheless, let's read it. A wife of noble character who can find. She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. Here's where it gets into some difficulties. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She's like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still dark. She provides food for her family and portions for her servant girls. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff and the spindle with her fingers. Anybody know what a distaff and a spindle is? I didn't either. I had to look it up and found out it's just some rods that they use on spinning wheels when they spun the flax and the wool. But she does that. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She's clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the reward she has earned, and let her works bring her praise at the gate. Now, I want to look at this and break it down a little bit here for us, because a lot of stuff mixed in together, and it's here. Now, if we look carefully at part of it, a lot of it has to do with her work ethic, with a wife's work ethic. Not just that she works hard or anything else, but this lady, she works like 20 women or men or whatever. She works hard. She does more work than you'd ever dream of. But verses 13 through 19 talk about her work ethic. And then again in verse 21 and 22, more about her work ethic. Then in 24 and 25, again, more about her work ethic. Verse 27, more about her work ethic. All of the things that she does. The thing about it is that she has good work ethics. Not that she accomplishes all of these things here, but simply that she has good work ethics. A lady that is admired and held up. Now, I want to look at some of these other verses, because those are really where I think the real key is that we want to find. What does God expect from our women, from our ladies? Ladies, what does God expect from you? I know next month, you're going to find out what God expects of men, but right now it's what does he expect of ladies? I think we find that in verses 10 through 12. What is he saying here? He wants a Christian woman to have a noble character. A noble character. And notice what he says. She is worth more than all the money in the world. She's more valuable than all the rubies. Than all the rubies. She is valuable. And why is she valuable? The next verse, verse 11. Because her husband can have full confidence in her. He can trust her. She is trustworthy. A wife that is trustworthy. A mother who is trustworthy. Now, in the next verse, it continues on. She does what? She desires for him and brings him just things that are good. She only wants good for her husband. She doesn't want harm to come to him. So she does the things that will bring him good. Good. That's the kind of woman that's mentioned here. And then again, of course, it starts talking about the ethics. Then we get down into verse 20. And we find here that she is a woman of great compassion. In verse 20, he says, she opens her arms to the poor, and she extends her hands to the needy. She has compassion. She cares about other human beings and about what suffering and troubles that they are going through. And she wants to reach out and to help them. This is the kind of woman that God appreciates. This is what God expects from all of us, actually, as Christians. But in particular here this morning for women. To be compassionate and to be generous. Generous. I'm glad I don't know any tightwad ladies. I do know a few ladies that I can remember that I kind of hold in high esteem. Let me just tell you a couple of them. There was Lena Kreider. I hold her in high esteem because she baked the best potato buns I ever tasted. And there was Grace King, and I hold her in high esteem because she baked angel biscuits that would melt in your mouth. And then there was Judy Fitch. She made the best cherry pie. That flaky crust was so good. Oh, I can remember her. And then there was Karen Crawford, who made those coconut pies. Nice, cold coconut pies. Oh, they were so good. You know, some of us have things that we remember. You can tell why I remember ladies like that. What do people remember about you? Hopefully, your kids will always remember your character and your kindness. The being a good cook just comes in extra. And if you're not such a good cook, that's okay. As long as you've got that character. The character. And of course, the thing about it is now, it throws us something here right in about the middle of it. It throws us something about men. It tells us about her husband. Hey, he doesn't get off easy either. He's expected to be respected all through the town, at the gates. He sits there with the other elders because he's respected, a respected man. So we can't let him off completely. But we want to look again In verse 26, she's a woman who doesn't leave it up to the state and the federal government to educate her kids. Now, this doesn't mean you have to have homeschooling. I'm not talking about that. Don't want to get into that. Never. What I'm talking about is the very fact that what? That she teaches her children about God. Day by day, she teaches her children about Jesus Christ. And she does it more than just with words. She does it with her actions and the noble character that she is. Why is she noble? Because she loves God and she loves Jesus Christ. And He saved her and redeemed her from all of her sins. So indeed, mother, she teaches her children well. And then, in verses 28 through the rest, she deserves praise. And so we want to praise you, ladies. And I hope that your family gives you the praise that you deserve. Not just on Mother's Day, but all the time. Because it says here, they deserve it. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. And then it gives us another key about it. When you get married, most of the time you look at the young lady that you're talking about and you say, "Woo, wow, boy is she pretty," or boy, I like her. Boy, she's really fantastic. That's all okay and good. But it says that charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting. And guess what? The one you marry at 20 is not going to look the same at 70. But what's inside is going to look better. What's inside is going to look better. Because she fears the Lord. So she should be praised. So give her the reward she's earned. And let her works bring praise at the city gates. Now, as a mother, all of you probably have some expectations of yourself. Hopefully that you'll see some that God has for you. But expectations for yourself. And sometimes, though, your own expectations may seem a little overwhelming. And they may be. But I want you to consider one other thing this morning. I want you to consider Mary, the mother of Jesus. And perhaps maybe her expectations of herself. If you think you've got some expectations, I wonder about Mary. It really doesn't tell us a lot in Scripture, but it leaves us a lot to puzzle about if you think about her. At first, Mary was puzzled by the words of the angel. You're going to have a child. But I'm a virgin. How can that be? She was puzzled. And then she was amazed at all of the incidents that started to happen and fall into place. Here was Elizabeth, and she bore a son, and goodness gracious, she's probably 70, 80 years old, who knows? She's well beyond having childbearing age, but she has a child. Wow! And it's all about Jesus. He's the forerunner of Jesus. And so it's something that she starts thinking about. And then she gave birth to her son. But when she went to get birth, there was no room at the end. What is this? Now, I've agreed, God, to have your son. In fact, I consider it an honor. And if you read the Magnificat, you realize that she really did. And it wasn't something superficial and not something you just say. But she really felt that herself to be blessed above all women, because God had somehow, for some reason, and no one knows, chosen her. I'm sure if she had refused, God would have probably found someone else. That's just God's going to. But God uses people, and He used her, and she felt blessed because of that. And she was amazed at all of those incidences, all of them. Giving birth in a stable, boy, wow, for the Son of God. And then come all these shepherds, these stinky fellows coming in from out in the fields, and they come in. And then there's those angels, though. Wow. She takes it all in. She ponders it in her heart. And then it came time for her to go to the temple, present Jesus there. And she went, and while she was there was Simeon and Anna. And they blessed her. And they told how they were expecting the Messiah. She took it all in, and she pondered over all of these events. And, we don't know anything else, though, that happened. What? Until he was 12 years old, except for one thing. We know one thing. Every single year, Jesus made a trip to Jerusalem. Because it says that they went to Jerusalem every single year. On the 12th year of Jesus, when he was 12 years old, they took him there. Now, here we have Mary. Mary, the mother of God. Now, we don't think of it that way, but understanding, God had chosen her. And this was God's son that she was raising. God trusted her to raise it. And guess what? He trusted her, and he didn't even give her one of those guidelines, those little books you find in your glove compartment of your car that you never read, the manuals of instructions. I should have read mine this week, because I ended up putting some water into my power steering pump. Real smart fella, Anyway, we don't read those manuals. They didn't get a manual. If you remember back when Samson was born, Samson's mother, she had been barren, and God gave her a child, and the angel appeared to him and told her that he couldn't have any wine. He couldn't cut his hair. He had to eat only kosher food and no alcohol whatsoever. And these were the instructions. Well, her husband Manoah said, hey, we need to talk to that angel again. He needs to give us an instruction booklet that goes along with, how are we going to raise this fella? You want to give us a child. You want him to be great in Israel. Where's the instruction book? How do we raise him? I don't know. Now, of course, he didn't say instruction book, but he did say, tell us what we need to do to raise this child. The angel didn't give him one. Mary didn't get one. The God of the universe trusted her. Wow. The God of the universe trusted her to raise his son up. Wow. So we see this at his age of 12. They take him there into Jerusalem, and guess what? She flunks as a mother. I mean, how else can you say it? She lost her kid. She couldn't find him. And not only this, but what? She didn't make sure that he was with him when they left Jerusalem. She didn't bother to look for him for another day. They were a day's journey away from Jerusalem, and she's looking for her boy. Where is he? Where's Jesus? Uh-oh, he's not with his uncles and cousins and everybody else where we thought he was. Where is he? They can't find him. Panic. Now, I'm sure that this was not on her thoughts, but I could just imagine. Uh-oh, boy, am I in trouble now. God entrusted me with his son, and I've lost him. He was lost to her. She went back to Jerusalem. They went back. Now, the way it's written in there, that they looked for either 1 day or 3 days. Can't tell exactly. But they looked in Jerusalem, and they couldn't find him at first. It took them a while. And, of course, we know the story. When they did find him, he said, you know, I had to be about my Father's business. And it was something that Jesus had done. But it didn't relieve the panic. Have you ever lost a child? If you have, you know what it's all about. Listen, Clarice's a bad mother. She lost one of our kids. We were looking all over for Danny. He wasn't in the house. He wasn't outside. We didn't know where he was. What do you push, that red button, you know, the panic button? Where is he? He was hiding under the bed. Those things happen. The lost child. They found Jesus, of course. And as a typical mother, guess what? She had words for him. Son, why have you treated us like this? Now you might want to lower it down and say, oh son, why have you treated us like this? But I don't picture many mothers saying it that way. In fact, they're probably 4 or 5 decibels above what I said. Why did you do this to me? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you. What was that word? Anxiously. Ladies, I'm simply saying this. Mothers, we can get a picture of sometimes of what it's like being a mother, because we know that you care and you're concerned about your kids. And that's what God really wants from you. 18 years passed by. The next time we see Jesus, he's gone to a wedding with his disciples and his mother. Apparently, probably related or something. I don't know why else Mary would be so concerned about them running out of wine, but she was. And she told Jesus about it. And Jesus was a little bit reluctant, you know. Lady, why are you telling me this? In other words, he said, why involve me? Is what he actually said. Why? It's not my turn, not my time. But he performed the miracle anyway. But the picture is there's a mother. She's the mother of Jesus. And guess what? She's taking charge. I don't know what she expected, but she was taking charge. Later on, it wasn't very much later, maybe a year, maybe not that long. It was time for the family to take charge again. Jesus had been preaching and doing miracles, and there was some dispute with Pharisees and everything, and they were accusing him of being from Beelzebub and everything else, and in pops his whole family, and guess what they want to do? They want to take charge of him because they think he's off his rocker. They think that he's out of his mind. But they don't take him. They don't take him. And the next thing we know, his mother's there, and she's looking out, and she sees her son being crucified. Mothers, if you've lost a child,